what is making headlines, with the opposition seemingly in government at the moment, despite them saying we did not sign any pact to indicate that we are actually in government. Now, I want to cross over to Machakos, where my colleague Majibu Kisau is camping there to have to listen to what Machakos has to say as far as the formation of a broad-based government is concerned. Majibu. All right, that is Majibu Kisau, of course, in Machakos, just ready for this particular conversation, and I believe right now he's ready to speak to us. Majibu.
Moja kwa moja, dakika za lala salama, kaunti ni Machakos, kaunti 016, hoteli ya Chaka hapa. Tunapiga gumzo kabisa. Bingwa, tukimalizia kipindi chetu cha leo. Serikali na upinzani, broad-based government hiyo. Je, unadhani kwamba kunaye ya kumtetea mwananchi ama ni jambo la kila mmoja kivyake, Mungu wetu sote?
Kwa maoni yangu naona ni kwamba opposition ni kama imeisha. Hii imeisha kabisa. Hakuna upinzani. Na
unakutetea kwa kufupi uko kivyako tu.
Tuko kivyetu. Ndio tutetee kama upinzani sasa. Hiyo tumewapea hiyo ya upinzani. Gen Z tusaidie kwa hiyo. So juu naona wote wamemezwa na serikali. So mambo na opposition is finished. So Gen Z take over.
Kwako pia uko nayo kutetea ama pia wewe unasema Mungu?
I personally feel that the opposition is weak because again of the division that we have already seen, and that does not mean that there's no hope. There's hope, but then again, we need to talk about some issues like political fatigue, where even the opposition itself imechoka kutetea wa Kenya, na vitu zenye wanatetea bado hazifanyiki, na pia sisi wa Kenya ni kama pia tumechoka. So maybe what we need to do is come up with a strategy for all stakeholders. That is the government itself, opposition, all political parties. We have been told there are there are 86 in the country. So even the NGOs really need to do civic engagement to educate the communities so that even mwananchi ourselves, we can advocate for the rights. We can advocate for the change you want to see in the community. But then again, we also need to be at the forefront of pushing and being at the center of all the development work, especially when you're talking about budgets. Watu wengi hawaendi public participation. Lazima tuanze from public participation sisi wote. Na pia ikifika time ya kura, inaweza kuwa ni vizuri sana kama last time wanarika wengi hawakupiga kura. Twende tupige kura, let's decide on the leaders that we want to see in our community.
Asante sana Bwana Ngao, kauli yako. Ngao yako ni ipi? Unadhani kwamba pia upinzani umemezwa na serikali ama bado kuna viongozi ambao bado wanaweza kukutetea?
Kwa maoni yangu sitasema upinzani, nitasema Raila, ambaye tumemjua kama kiongozi wa upinzani. Na Kenya bado upinzani upo. Kinachoendelezwa na Gen Z ni upinzani. Kinachofanywa na viongozi kama kina Kalonzo, Wamalwa ni upinzani. Na yale mengi ambayo tumeweza kuyasikia katika forum kama hii ni upinzani, ambapo watu wanaweza ita serikali na waiambie serikali haya si sawa. Ukiangalia katika mitandao, so naweza sema upinzani bado upo. Ni vile sasa yule kiongozi ambaye alijulikana hayupo. Na according to me, Raila hajamezwa, Raila retired. Ni vile angetangaza, kwa sababu si ofisi ya kuajiriwa. Angetangaza aseme I'm retired, but he gave up. He retired, is no longer there. I strongly feel, and this is my take, that upinzani katika taifa la Kenya uko katika transition na uko katika evolution. Those two things. It is evolving to a different dimension, Na niseme hivi, taifa la Kenya na mataifa mengi ulimwenguni, kulingana na yale ambayo mengine nilikuwa nayasema kule pembeni, ya kwamba kuna ile inaitwa mental shift. Ile not mental shift but mindset shift. It's something that happens over the years. Na sasa imekuja kufikia generation yenye ile change imekuwa ikifanyika, ishawabadilisha wakawa watu wengine tofauti. Na kwa hivyo huo mwamko mpya ambao upo Kenya, ambao huwezi nyamazishwa kwa hela, ambao huwezi nyamazishwa kwa vitisho, huo ni upinzani tosha.
Asante. Niliwaarifu kwamba nina kikosi kizima pia upande huu mwingine. Gen Z pia wanasema pia sisi tungependa sana kutoa kauli zetu kuhusiana na hili swala zima. Kwanza amemalizia pale kwa mwamko mpya. Kila mara nyingi sana serikali, baadhi watasema kwamba kila kunapoonekana kwamba kuna mwamko mpya, serikali iliyoko madarakani itajaribu sana kutafuta mbinu ya kujaribu kunyamazisha ile nguvu ya umma. Mojawapo ya mikakati hiyo, basi wengine watasema kwamba ni kujaribu kuleta pamoja wale viongozi wa upinzani waweze kuingia serikalini. Bingwa, ningependa kusikia kauli yako kuhusiana hilo.
Yeah, I think my name is James and I'm part of the Machakos County Youth Assembly, and I'm glad to be here tonight. What I think, my opinion is that what the president did, he was just trying to save himself from all the messes that you're seeing in this country. Appointing the ODM bodies and everybody, whoever he appointed, that was a way to save himself. What Gen Z wanted, or what we wanted to see new faces, people who can be accountable, people who can show the results of what they have been employed to do. But what did we see? Employing the same old people. Tukizaliwa ndio watu waliko kwa siasa, hadi sasa ndio wamewekwa hapo hivyo. Like, that is so bad. Like, we are so disappointed. Again, look at the parliament that we have. Most of the members of the parliament, like the national parliament, look at the vetting, how they are vetting the guys who have been nominated. Like, it's so shoddy. They don't follow what's supposed to be followed. They're ignoring the red flags raised by the EACC. Like, the parliament is so messed up. Like, it's so messed up. Like, we need a new country. We need a new parliament. I think that parliament should be disbanded. Waende nyumbani wote. We elect new members in the parliament.
Asante sana Bingwa. Mnasikia kizungu cha Gen Z. Mkisikia wamesoma mnakubali tu. Bingwa, mpatie mwenzako pia ambaye hajazungumza huyu. Pia kauli yako ni ipi? Je, unadhani kwamba kwanza kusana hili la baraza jipya la mawaziri utalizungumziaje? Kauli yako.
Thank you very much. I'm John Kalova Mutua from Katani. That is in Muthwani Ward, Mavoko sub-county. I think kuwa na baraza jipya, it is not solving the major problem that we have. It is said that everyone can steer the ship, but it takes the leader to chart the course. Here the leader is the president, who is the president of the Republic of Kenya. Na wakati ambapo tunasema kwamba akona baraza jipya la mawaziri, what are they going to serve? Are they really solving the problem which is with the common mwananchi? Kupata baraza jingine jipya la mawaziri, je, linafanya gharama ya maisha kwenda chini? Those are the questions that we should ask ourselves. Je, hii mambo ambayo tunasema ya kwamba ati fuel iko juu, is it solving the problem? It is always said that the politicians are all cousins. Ukileta huyu utoe huyu, welete huyu mwingine, they are all the same. And we see the same bodies, they are going to serve the interests, not the interests of us wananchi. They are going to serve the interest of their political parties.
Asante. Acha nianze hapa sasa, labda kama kila mmoja anaweza kupata nafasi kuzungumza tukielekea hivyo. Tuzungumzie hili sasa la pendekezo la kupunguza idadi ya makatibu wa wizara kwa maana PSs. Utalizungumziaje? Je, ni kivyako wewe kama mwananchi unadhani kwamba ni hatua nzuri ambayo labda rais anapendekeza, ama wewe mwenyewe unahisi kwamba bado wanastahili kuhudumu kwenye zile nyadhifa kama ilivyo kwa sasa?
Kulingana na mimi, maoni yangu ni kwamba where the government is right now, we need to look at the ways we can be able to cut costs. And one of the ways za cut costs ni doing away with some of these irrelevant offices. I'm looking at the other regimes. They were having only a minister and an assistant minister, one per ministry. And the ministries were less to some extent. But now when the last two regimes came in, now what they were looking at, how exactly can we be able to award the people who've stood with us? And that is where we missed every other thing. And that takes us back to prioritizing issues as far as what presidency is supposed to be doing. Kama serikali ama kama raisi anafaa kuwa anaangalia sasa wananchi wamesema kwamba wamechoka. And it's something that is visible out there. So what can I do as a president? Ni hakikishe kwamba nizitoe zile ofisi ambazo zinaongeza gharama kuwa juu. It felt so bad wakati juzi kwa parliament walikuwa wana discuss about let me deviate kidogo about ofisi ya the first lady and the second lady. And the same parliament that we are talking about, as James has said, hao ndo wakakuja wakasema kwamba hizo ofisi zibaki na the same budgets. That means we are lacking priorities. The president is failing, the assembly is failing. All the people that we have bestowed responsibility ya kutuhudumia kama wananchi, they have failed. So my conclusion is, if the president means well for the people of Kenya, he needs to cut on operational costs and make sure at the end of the day, he only maintains the PSs, wale ambao wanaweza, he should be able to merge those particular departments that can be able to work together. Of course, kuna those key departments that cannot be merged. Hizo zibaki independent. But hizi zingine ambazo zinaweza fanya kazi independently, tofauti, zifanywe venye inafaa.
Asante, kauli nzito kabisa hiyo. Labda sasa tunaelekea hivyo tukija kwenu. Labda nimalizane na hawa jenzia alafu nyinyi sasa mtazungumzia swala zima la uwajibikaji wa viongozi. Bingwa, huyu ni jenzi. Mlienda barabarani kuandamana. Lakini sasa rais anaonekana kujitahidi sana kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba anawafurahisha nyinyi ambao mlienda barabarani. Je, unadhani kwamba hii hatua ambayo amechukua hivi sasa ya lile baraza jipya la mawaziri, broad based government, na mikakati mingine ambayo anajaribu kuitangaza inatosha mboga kuhakikisha kwamba nyinyi wenyewe mtaridhika?
Ningependa kusema ya kwamba sisi kama vijana tulikuwa barabarani kwa masuala mengi, na haya yote hayajaweza kusuluhishwa by appointing friends, by appointing political friends and creating a political friendly climate. I think I wish to still say that even as the president heads to reappointing the PSS, first key thing, we need professionals. We need people going to deliver. But at any point that he makes this decision, let the president address the any decision he's going to make. Let us be able to see unemployment being addressed. Let us be able to see education issues being addressed. Let us be able to see agricultural issues being addressed. Let us be able to see hunger and everything else being addressed. I see the president. Okay, nikimalizia, alileta issue ya housing, atukatai, lakini is it the priority at the moment? We have bigger issues that the president should look at, and I think there's even need for us to revisit the housing levy issue and everything else, so that we reconstitute afresh and moving forward to kuwe inclusive. Thank you.
Asante sana Bingwa, umezungumza sasa hivi, lakini kwa kifupi tu, kabla upatie dadangu pia amalizie kauli yake. Mpatie Ubingwa pia kauli yako tukimalizia.
What I think is that we should accept that one, Kenya is broke. We don't have all this money that we are showing opulence everywhere. At you, sijui mtu amevaa sijui saa sijui ya nini ama all such kind of things. We need to agree that we don't have money in Kenya because we are borrowing so much. We need to embrace ways and methods on how we can be productive as a nation, how we can increase our exports. So, like, as the president, and the advisors that surround him, we need to come up with real solutions. Tujue keki ni ndogo, keki si kubwa vile watu wanafikiria hapo nje. We know how we are going to use our resources well, how we are going to be accountable, how we are going to maximize and bring out the best with what we have, with what God has blessed us with. Thank you.
Asante sana. Pia dadangu hapo, mambo ni mengi ambayo yanajadiliwa. ungependa masuala yepi rais ayapatie kipaumbele ili wewe uweze kuridhika kama Gen Z na pia kama Mkenya wa kawaida? Mbali na hili la broad based government, masuala yepi ambayo unahisi kwamba hili akilitimiza hili nitakuwa nimeridhika?
Okay, I'm Yusra Ali and I'm a teacher by profession and Machakos is my hometown. I think what we want as Gen Z is a very simple thing, action. We want accountability. We want good governance. We want these leaders of ours to do exactly what they are mandated to do. We've talked about the issue of tax. I'm glad they're talking about reducing the PSAs, whatever. The issue of all of a sudden now we need to have a time limit for the IDs. We're having house levies. I was seeing on the internet, they want to charge toll fees, I don't know, for major highways. We have no problem with that. But where is the money going? The main thing the president needs to look at, and he needs to be very serious about it, is accountability.
Asante.
And I want to finish. You know, they're taking us like a joke and they're not taking it so serious. It's a new dawn. It's a new era. This is a revolution. Yes, we are quiet right now, but we are re-strategizing. We are not going to tone down. The president and his people need to know the young generation is woke. And we are serious about what we want at this moment.
Asante.
Accountability.
Wanakusikiza wenyewe sasa hivi. Wameweka screen kubwa pale State House. Mpatie dadangu pia kauli yake. Tukigusia sana hili la uwajibikaji wa viongozi. Nadhani kipi kifanyike kuhakikisha kwamba yule kiongozi zile fedha, kama ni mbunge kwa mfano, zile fedha ambazo anazipata labda za CDF, unadhani kipi kifanyike wewe kama Mkenya kuhakikisha kwamba zinatumika ipasavyo?
Kwa maoni yangu, kila mtu mwenye amechaguliwa ama ako in state position lazima akuwa accountable, and we need transparency in the expenditures, because we have seen a lot of money which is going to waste, where there is no development. The money is allocated, but we are not seeing development on the ground. Pia we should have access to information. When you want to know who has gotten which tender, we want to be the MPs to be accountable. If I go to a CDF office and I want information, I should not be taken round, because this is my money. This is a taxpayer's money, and it should be used the way it is supposed to be used. Si mambo ya kuambiwa barabara tumejengewa, but accountability hakuna na yenye inaonyesha pesa yetu imetumikaje. Na pia kama uko na integrity issues, we are still insisting you are not supposed to hold a public office, because if before you are not able to account what was allocated to you as a leader, why now become a leader again? Tukupatie pesa uendelee kutumia pesa vibaya, na sisi tunatarajia utufanyie kazi kama wananchi.
Asante sana. Asante pia kauli yako ya mwisho pia kwa kifupi. Tusione tu sasa milioni nne kwenye mitandao na hatuni madarasa ya chekechea.
Asante sana. Kwanza tungetaka kuona viongozi wetu wanawajibika kuhakikisha kwamba wanahusisha wananchi, ile tunaita public participation. Manake tunaona wabunge wameongea kule bunge, lakini tukiangalia mambo ya CDF, hizo ni fedha ambazo hatujaiona public participation. Unaona mbunge anatokelezea pale anasema nitatengeneza hii barabara, nitajenga haya madarasa, nitanunulia school bus, nitafanya hivi na hivi. Hayo ni mambo ambayo yanastahili kukaliwa chini na wananchi katika hilo eneo bunge, ili wananchi wenyewe waweze kujadili ni mambo gani ambayo wanahitaji, lakini si mbunge mwenyewe aanze kueleza jinsi ambazo atatumia zile hela ambazo amepatiwa, manake hizo ni hela za wananchi. Cha pili ni kwamba tumekuwa tukipata ripoti ya mhasibu mkuu, Auditor General, lakini hatujai kuona wakitake actions. Tunataka kuona action kama ni fedha ambazo zimevunjwa. Tunataka kuona wakipelekwa kotini. Tunataka kuona wakifungwa, na tunataka kuona recovery. Jambo lile lingine tunataka kuona ni katika EACC. EACC waache negotiations na waizi ambao wameiba mali ya umma. Tunataka kuona wakichukua hao watu wapeleke kotini, wafungwe na recovery ya hiyo pesa. Lakini si kusema watu warudishe pesa alafu bado wanachaguliwa katika nyadhifa mbalimbali katika nchi yetu.
Asante sana. Kauli yako pia ya mwisho labda kusana hilo la kuhakikisha kwamba kuna uwazi wa yale ambayo yanatendeka serikalini na pia katika ule kiongozi ambaye ulimchagua?
Asante sana, naitwa Jacob Ngumi. Mimi ni mfanyikazi wa kikundi cha jamii hapa Machakos County. Ningependa kusema mambo mawili ambao ningeona hii serikali ingefanya. Jambo la kwanza ni kwamba wapunguze ukabila ndani ya serikali. Ukiangalia vile serikali iko, unakuta ma PS karibu wote ni Kalenjin. Ukuta PS ni Kalenjin, unakuta CSD ni Mkikuyu. Ukuta hivi na hivi na hivi na hivi. Ukuta all the parastatal heads wote, unakuta wote ni Kalenjin. Hiyo ni kabila ndani ya serikali. Wote watolewe, tukuwe na national affairs. Jambo la pili, ningependa kuona ya kwamba ile expenditure, accountability in terms of expenditure imepunguzwa kabisa. Tulisema sisi Gen Z walisema kwamba na Wakenya waliagree na hiyo mambo ya Gen Z kwamba matakwa yao kwamba serikali ipunguze gharama ya kuenda ng'ambo. Sasa hii tumeona ameenda ng'ambo, Rais Ruto anatumia pesa zetu. Kwa hiyo gharama kutembea inji ipunguzwe kabisa. At least Wakenya wasave hiyo pesa ikuwe ya maendeleo. Asante.
Msema rais apunguze safari za ndege. Haya, tukisonga ndugu yangu.
Thank you. I think what I can say and what I can tell President, because there is a problem, and unless we fight this problem, we'll continue having the same problems that we are having. Mr. President, fight corruption. Corruption is what is killing us. Corruption, ukifight corruption, ndio utamaliza mambo ya maisha na gharama ya maisha kwenda juu. We see a whole CS. We see a issue, a scandal inachipuka, tunauziwa fertilizer ambao ni mafi, ni vitu zingine ziko hapo ndani, si fertilizer. Na the remedy for that, the way you can punish that person ni kumtoa kwa kazi, kumwachisha kazi. That is not the way for. Kama huyo mtu ambaye ametuzia sisi, ameuzia wamama, mamba mboga na kila mtu pale chini, fertilizer ambao ni gushi, awekwe ndani, hizo pesa, we need that recovery. Tunaona watu wengi ambao wanaenda, lakini pesa hatujui zimeenda wapi. Masiesi wameenda. Unasikia mwingine ambao aliagiza department fulani itoe 2 million. Hazijulikani zilienda wapi. At the end of the day, are we fighting the corruption? Huyo mtu anaachishwa kazi, anaenda. The last thing, Mr. President, kaa chini, fanya kazi na ma-CS, fanya kazi na ma-PS, fanya kazi na departments, ndio tupate suluhu ya Kenya. Ulituahidi ya kwamba utatufanyia kazi, na kazi utafanya peke yako, sikiza na kaa chini, na vichwa zote ambazo umeleta pamoja ndio mfikirie ni jambo gani ambalo litafanyika ili mwananchi wa kawaida apate chenye anataka. We don't need roadside declaration, roadside ati unatuambia utatufanyia kwa roadside, yet tunaona vitu hazifanyiki. Miaka 2, miaka 3 inaendelea kuisha. 2027 it's not very far. Tumejipanga hata sisi. Vile ulikuwa umejipanga, pia sisi tumejipanga.
Asante sana kwa kauli yako. Labda mtu wa mwisho mzungumzia swala zima kuhusiana na ufisadi. Labda kauli yako ya mwisho pia bingwa. Tukimalizia na arifa kuna chini ya dakika 3.
Yes, this is my parting shot to the president. Whereas we want to appreciate the formation of a broad-based government, I will say myself that it is not a panacea to solve the Kenyan pain and challenges per se. Secondly, the success or the effectiveness of the broad-based government is hinged on the ability, competency, and the integrity of its leaders. Today, if corruption is dealt with, economic inequalities is dealt with, and the social justices, I think Kenya will be a step ahead like Singapore. So to finish, this is my message to the Gen Zs. You put in a good fight, and this is not, you didn't lose. You're not losers, it's victory postponed. Go, get your voters card, wait until 2027. Vote for you believe that can transform Kenya.
Asante.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us here.
Asante sana bingwa. Kikao kizima kaunti 016 kaunti ya Machakos. Umewasikia mwenyewe mtazamaji kuhusiana na ile ambao wamezungumza gumzo hili kuhusiana na serikali ya msingi mpana, wengine watasema broad based government. Wamezungumza ya moyoni. Kikao kinakamilika kaunti ya Machakos kutoka hoteli hii ya Chaka. Lakini gumzo linaendelea katika studio zetu kaunti ya Nairobi. Niseme shukrani za dhati kwa wote ambao wamefanikisha matangazo haya hapa kaunti ya Machakos, kuanzia pia na waliochangia mada hii na pia kikosi kizima ambacho nimekuwa nacho hapa kikiongozwa na MC Dan the Hype Guru. Niseme mimi ni Majibu Kisao na kurudisha studioni ya Mwai. Acha nikatafute ndege sasa ya kwenda Airport North Road.
All right, yes, we are having a conversation behind the scenes when it comes to issues that have, happening in the country. And this is the thing, I want us to finalize on this conversation and get the final remarks from my guests, and that also includes Governor Mutahi Kahiga of Nyeri, who has been with us all through from 8:30 p.m. this evening. Thank you so much, Governor, for making time and staying with us all through. Now, this, as you give your final remarks, this is what I want to ask you. You're a governor of Nyeri. Of course, I want you to place yourself in the shoes of the head of state. For close to 2 years, he's not been able to deliver mostly on some of the things that have been raised by the Gen Z, and that is why we are where we are today and also discussing the reconstitution of a cabinet. If you are in his shoes, what would you have done different, and how does the future look like when you look at what is happening today?
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that we have had to listen to the Gen Zs. You should have let the parents finish, then you could. But I think I want to say this. Whatever we have as a challenge is a fundamental. We have a big, big problem. I have had the opportunity to sit with a number of cabinet secretaries who are sent home, now in the former government, and I think there is too much micromanagement and within cabinet that they are not able to operate fully, and it is pointless to have, if you listen to how they swear. They take an oath, it is that they are prepared to advise the president. So we really need to ask ourselves whether do they have the opportunity to advise the president? Are they free? Have they been given an opportunity to exercise their knowledge in what they do? Or is there too many, especially when you hear that there are very many people who will keep calling and denying the cabinet the opportunity to think and work and take decisions. That is a challenge we seem to have. And we have even heard the president himself say that he knows more about ministries than his own people that he appointed. I do not know whether it is for lack of knowledge or competence or whatever. But now that we have whoever is now has been appointed, whether we appreciate them or not, the parliament has approved them. My message to them is that we are already into the third year of the K24 government. It is important that they hit the ground running, focus on the agenda, the better agenda, and deliver. We do not want the shenanigans we have seen. Remember, the previous cabinet had issues with fertilizer, they had issues with oil, cooking oil, there were this and that, very many issues that need, it is their duty now that they have been given the opportunity by the president to help him achieve. Last but not least, this country is suffering a trust deficit from leadership. If we cannot, my word can never become a bond. It is time we decided whether we want to be truthful, factual, and that whatever we say is something we are committed to. Sometimes I wonder when I look at my president today. He told us in broad daylight he was never going to bring I don't know whom on board. It happened. He says this, there are so many things, and until now people lose the confidence. Therefore, it is important that we say very few things and we do as much. Last but not least, mine is to say that as the K24 government, we have an agenda and we must work towards ensuring that that agenda is fulfilled. We must never fall asleep and forget that in 2027 there will be political competition, and some of those we have brought into our house will be our competitors. Who knows? It is time to be worried. We wish everybody well, and beyond everything else, I would continue to ask my, the leadership of the country. The Gen Z's raised the issue. They have let's tick the boxes as we go down sorting out the issues they raised. If they are talking about corruption, let us fight corruption. Surely, it is one of the sicknesses, one of the challenges that is ailing this nation, where we cannot, we raise revenue. We start on projects, we are not able to complete them, yet the money disappears. I'll give an example. Look at Rorengo Stadium. More than 200 million has been put into that stadium. Today, it is a mess. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Governor Kahiga, for your time and your insight. Governor Kahiga talks about the issue of to do with trust deficit, and we've been talking about that here, which is a point that has actually been raised. I want to come to you, Honorable Pogisho. This is the thing, 2 minutes, because I'm totally running out of time. What does the future look like with this broad-based government at the moment? And as you touch on that, how do we get to heal a nation that every time we have issues, we say we are very, very divided?
Thank you very much. The current setting that we have today is like a trap to us. The government says we have put forth new cabinet, and so we should trust them because they are new. But we don't trust people because they are new, because they are not really new, the ones that we have here today. And I heard one of the ministers saying that if the president will not listen to my advice, I'm going to quit. That is the level that we want to reach, a place where you say, I swore to advise, and I should therefore advise. Let me summarize by saying, that the collegiality, what I would call the friendship club, and the cronism that is within government should stop now.
All right.
The familiarity that people get too familiar with the president has absolutely no room to even actually correct anybody.
Okay.
People are doing the things that they said they would not do. Opulence is still being practiced today.
Right.
And I think people just show Kenyans some kind of trust. How can Kenyans trust you? Just show that you are different. You are new and you're different and you're going to do things differently. And I just say that Kenyans also need to put more pressure because it is pressure that's the language and the currency that is understood by this.
Thank you so much. I'm running out of time, Honorable Pogisho. Let me come to you, Honorable Madenge, as we wind up just a minute. How does the future look like for you? A minute.
Brian, the broad-based government is not something entirely new. Kenyans have spoken with a lot of nostalgia about the Kibaki administration. In fact, literally the entire 10 years of Kibaki administration were governed under a broad-based government. You remember he won under the Rainbow Coalition, which was a broad-based arrangement. Thereafter, there would be the question of the MOU. After the 2007 post-election violence, we had the government of national unity blocked by Kofi Annan. And when you look at, after we have overcome the immediate crisis, the country did largely improve. I'm asking Kenyans that we take advantage of this new this new position that President William Ruto has taken and offered the Kenyans a benchmark from where to start. On the trust deficit, why did the young people say they are leaderless, they are tribeless? Even among the young people, the question of trusting one of them to appear as leading them was also a real issue. And as Kenyans, we have to resolve the question of leadership and the trust that we have in the people we put into positions of trust.
For that. Vivian, just 30 seconds, because I want to cross over to the other side. What do you see as far as the future is concerned with the broad-based government?
For me, I think if there's one thing I appreciate out of all this, it's the increased awareness and increased engagement of Kenyans, not just the political class, into matters of governance. We are at a place where, you know, even the average Kenyan is very well informed about the ongoings of government and can actually speak up and say, you know, we like this, we don't like this, but I like the increased awareness, and I hope that going forward as we head towards 2027, it will mean more inclusion, it will mean more voters, you know, more people will register as voters and actually participate in, you know, the democratic exercise. Because the same excellence we demand of the appointees of the president is the same excellence we should demand of the people we are electing, right from MCA level, governor, senator, MPs, women representatives, every level, because that's a mandate that we are giving them.
Thank you so much for that. Let me go to Honorable Mushomba. A minute, I'm totally out of time. This is the thing. The government has been in office for close to 2 years right now. The impact has not been felt. People took to the street and said, no, we do not want anything to do with you. Ruto must go. You are a member of parliament. How do you measure the impact? How do you measure impact and that the government is not doing at the moment? A minute.
I think going by the volumes of rage and the manifestation of Kenyans' rage on matters governance, matters corruption, matters political leadership and management, I think there is much that we need to do in this country so that we can build back the public confidence on government leaders, government offices, the presidency, and parliament.
All right.
There is so much that we need to do, and going forward, I think we are no longer going to assume the young people of Kenya. We are no longer going to assume that they don't know what is going on in this country. And going forward, the president has to devise a way to come out as a more credible president. And he has to come out as a more inclusive president when it comes to issues of gender. Currently, as we speak, because I'm a woman leader in this, I must say, Parliament is unconstitutional because we don't have the two-thirds as a principle as required. Cabinet, as we speak, is unconstitutional. And every other institution has a gap. The president wrote the first executive order to correct parliament. 2 years down the line, he has done nothing. So the president has come up like a person who always wants to please people. When he's speaking, he writes executive orders to please people. And to panga. He likes the word panga. To panga people's even in the mind. So that he can appear to be an effective president, but it ends up collapsing on his face.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mushomba. I'm totally out of time. Brenda will give her a chance to kill me at this particular moment. Now, this is the thing. I want to cross over to David Kagina. Kagina, this is the thing. One of the issues that has been raised here is the issue to do with not having a leader. And as a result of that, we've been able to see somehow the opposition and, quote-unquote, Raila Odinga taking advantage of that and jumping in. You are sitting with a panel of young people who took to the streets. Was that their undoing in terms of feeling represented in the new formation?
The very people we are having right here in a studio, and just starting off with Sankara, they're saying that lack of leadership is making it hard to engage Gen Zs and bring them on board as part of the broad-based government. What would be your stand on that?
Before I respond to that, let me put it out there clearly to Mr. Kahiga, the governor of Nyeri, that petty disagreements between William Ruto and his deputy cannot, will not, and shall not take young people to the streets. They came together. Actually, we were never part of the agreement to become a president, a co-president. So they should not involve us. I think these people haven't heard us. If they've heard us, then they haven't listened to us, because hearing is making a sensory input, but listening is forming ground with the people and the reality. So we going to the streets without leaders should not be the issue. When I say they haven't listened to us, I mean whatever it is that we were agitating for. Do not need leadership to be affected. We're asking the president for once, respect the constitution, make the court orders be valid, so that when Sankara is charged and a court order is presented to me, I take it responsible as a citizen and not take it as a casual paper that is written by a court of law. So some of these things do not actually need leadership to be affected. We want corrupt people to be charged. Do you want us to have leadership to negotiate on how corrupt people should be charged? Let me give a brief example of countries that have developed, countries that Kenya look up to when it comes to development. China, they hanged 2 deputy mayors for corruption allegations. In North Korea, they hanged the uncle to Kim Jong-un, who was the chairperson of Defense Council, for corruption and related allegations. In Vietnam the other day, a real tycoon estate was sentenced to death. Come to Kenya. Thieves are just moved from one ministry to the other. Thieves are rewarded parastatal jobs. So some of these things do not need leadership. And again, the leadership that has been exhibited from the opposition could be a strong message for us not to agitate to have a leader, because we know the conmanship that exists in Kenya's politics, where you show an element of disagreement with the popular opinion, you are considered a traitor, you are called, you are bought off or coerced or cajoled into silence. So we thought it a collective responsibility. We do not need leaders to affect some of these things. And what we see is a man, old wisdom dictates that when you are already in a hole, you stop digging. The president is continuously digging all round the hole. I think the only thing he's waiting for is the collapse of the cave. But we are not going to allow him to do this, because he has been trying to do it without our willingness. When we went to the street, we know very well that parliament had been captured. The judiciary is in shambles. We do not need leadership to have a conversation on how parliament is going to be independent. So some of these things do not actually need leadership. I don't know why they are measuring on minors and minoring on majors. We can move. We can do without having leaders. We only want the right things to be done by the right people. But what we see is a term called dangerous, treasonous criminals. We are not criminals. A criminal cannot ask for the right thing to be done. It is only a criminal who portrays the negative attitude toward people agitating for change. So I don't know who is the criminal in this perspective, because as far as I'm concerned, criminals are well protected by the government. Criminals are driven and chauffeured in government vehicles paid by citizens' money.
All right, and moving to generally, still on leadership, do you feel like being leaderless, in addition to being tribeless and fearless, is making it harder to probably even engage the youths and get to know what exactly, how exactly they can be brought on board?
Okay, thank you. First of all, let me tell you this way. There is this English word that goes, when you argue with a fool, then you're one of them. You are categorized as one. So there is no way. They're talking about dialogue. We are leaderless. So they want those people to go and represent us. There is no way I personally, generally, can go and sit down with President Ruto and those of his people who killed my brothers, who killed my sisters. I cannot do that. Personally, I cannot do that. That can never happen. We will continue to be leaderless, we will be fearless, and we are going to fight these people no matter what. They said we are criminals. How can you go to the table with a criminal? It does not make sense. It does not make sense completely. They call us thieves, while in real sense they are thieves. First of all, Mr. William Ruto, just 2022 during elections, he was talking to court. Why? Because the people said he stole votes. He was a thief. He is a thief, not us. He is the thief. And he is the person that should be dealt with, you see.
Well, generally the court really upheld the elections, the results of the election, indeed affirming President William Ruto's win. But my question to you would be, you've mentioned about the importance of being leaderless. Yes, you've also mentioned that you've also accepted the labels put on the Gen Zs and the youth at large, talk of criminals, talk of treasonous, and you've said that, well, you cannot have a conversation with these people having those labels on you already. But what approach do you think now is going to bring a solution in totality?
Okay, what is the need of repeating to someone who knows what he should be doing and is not doing the same thing? All they do is talk and talk and talk. It is now time we want sweet actions, not sweet words. if you say like just I think last week but one, he was in Mombasa. See, it was like in a rally. He has started campaigning for 2027 elections, while he has done nothing. Me, I say President Ruto has been there for 12 years in the government. He was there 10 years as the deputy president. What did he do? Completely nothing. Nothing. So there is no way someone can come to me and tell me that President William Ruto should continue to be there. 2027 is so much far. That guy should not even be a chief, even a member of Nyumba Kumi, because it's clear he does not deserve.
Well, indeed, Kenode?
If at all some of you still think that we need a leader from our movement to go and sit down with the president and tell him that poor people are sleeping hungry in their homes, that parents are dying of depression because they cannot afford the school fees for their children, then we have no leader. Importantly, I think there are some things that we need to put into context. When the president was, I think in Kisii, he said that he was going to, to build a broad-based government that was going now to bring everyone together so that we have peace. When he was in Kisii, he talked about Kenya being a democracy and that he was going to, protect that democracy. So we must advance that question even further, because democracy must serve the majority. Who are the majority in the country? It is the poor people. Yeah, it is these young people who were on the street ready to die. So when now the president is talking about democracy, then we must ask, who is that democracy serving? Because at the moment, this democracy is only serving a few people in the country who continue to enrich themselves. And when young people come to the street and raise very genuine concerns, then they are shot, they are killed by by the state. Remember, the generation before us fought for political freedom, for political rights in the country. Now our generation is advancing the conversation even further, because they didn't just fight for political rights, they even fought and died for the constitution. Now we are advancing the conversation further. We are saying these are the things, the minimums the constitution has guaranteed us. These are the things our parents died fighting for. We want to experience them in our lifetime. So therefore, they must understand that then our generational mission is to now advance the conversation on social economic rights. We, when we talk about affordable housing, when we talk about right to the highest quality of education, these are not just abstract concepts. These are not just ideas. These are things people want to experience, at least, in their lifetime.
Well, indeed. Sankara.
I think whatever it is that we've witnessed with the recent political unveilings in the country is attempt by the government or the executive to solve economic problems using political systems or political ways. Whatever it is that took young people to the streets is actually a culmination of already exacerbating situation. The finance bill wasn't the reason as to why we went to the street. Actually, finance bill was the trigger. It doesn't mean that we had no pending issues. A lot of things have been happening, but we've been seeing them, trying to contain them, but we find no more room to accommodate stupidity. We had to call a spade and not a small spoon. So going forward, we need to put into action economic solutions and not political pronouncements. You cannot, what is broad-based? Because I had the president say, broad-based is what it is. Even himself, he cannot actually explain to us what is broad-based. Broad-based government is a government of experts, people drawn from multi-sectoral organizations. It is not a government composed of the executive and the then opposition. No, that is not broad-based. So trying to use political tactics to solve economic challenges will not only fail, but will ignite another fire that no one will be able to extinguish, because these young people are the same people whose relatives have been killed. I was in the street some time back, I think before the Nane protest. There was a young man who confronted a group of officers armed and he told them he was ready to be shot because they killed his own brother. You see where this thing is going. So it is not a matter of us having leaders. We don't need leaders to do the right thing, because demanding for Gen Zs to have leaders is actually usurpation of the parliamentary sovereignty. When we go to the ballot on general elections, we elect leaders to represent us in parliament. Representation of the people cannot be achieved through presidential nominations. It is achieved through election of leaders to parliament. Tell me, which constituency has not been represented in this country? We have over 290 members of parliament, and constitutionally the role of an MP is to oversee, legislate and represent, not cows, represent people in parliament. So the moment we saw MPs' powers to oversee, legislate had been usurped by the executive, we just restored power to parliament. But parliament is this another, another warthog that do not remember that it was in a war zone and the prey is still there, the enemy is still there. Parliament is still doing the same mistakes it has been doing. So it is high time that people realizes that when operations become the law, then resistance become duty. Every Kenyan is going to resist.
All right, I think another wants to respond to that.
And not even respond, but even advance it a little further. We had said that the president in his tours, in his campaign tours that he has been doing recently, talked about peace in the country. And now we can give a scenario here. I'm seated here, I'm eating chicken. This guy seated here eating chicken, and then there's a poor person who is here hungry. And then you ask me, what is peace? For me, peace is for this person to, shut up so that I can finish enjoying this meal. Then ask this poor person, what is peace for them? Peace is for them to get a share of that meal. Yes. So then, when you talk about peace in the country, then peace means very different thing for the people who are rich and for the people who are poor. For the person who is rich, he wants peace to go and play his golf in peace. He wants, peace to go and, do his business in peace. For a poor person, go to Madare. Ask him, what is peace? He wants a good house. What is peace for this father? He wants to not die from depression, trying to, to look for fees for his family. So for poor people, and for this for us young people who went to the street, we went to the street because we love peace so much. But we are not seeing any peace at home. We only experience violence at home. What is happening to us? Our parents are dying in Kenyatta Hospital and all these public hospitals from depression, from things like high blood pressure, even cancer. We don't think anyone should be dying at this time from cancer. Why are the rich not dying from cancer? Why are the politicians, before they die, they have even gone to London and it has failed. Then they come to die. But for us, they want us to pray and they want to talk about peace. So for us, there can be no peace when our poor people are not, experiencing the social economic rights which are guaranteed to them. Because if you don't have money in the country, you perish like a dog. So we will only bring, peace will only come when these things which are guaranteed in the constitution, are available for the toiling masses in the country.
All right, let's just hear from Generali before we continue.
Let me add something about peace. Mr. Ruto, because I don't even have that confidence to call him a president, let me call him Mr. Ruto, or Baba, the father to his kids. There is this thing, he talks about peace. What I want to tell Ruto is this. Stop talking about peace, because it is now clear you don't want peace. Me personally, I'm ready to be the problem to the government if you are not going to do the right thing. I'm going to be the problem this way. We'll come to the streets, businesses will close, there will be no revenue collection, and we'll see what you are going to do. Because you want that war, because now we have seen revolution is now the solution. It's no more about maandamano, it reject finance bill. That was done with. What now we want to do is clear that is a war against the government.
But again, generally, when you talk about, frustrating the economic efforts of the country in demonstrations, are you not again fighting against what you're fighting for?
Okay, there is I see sometimes it's better to do away with everything and start again afresh, if that's what it will take. We are ready to destroy it, then come up with a new way, because these people don't care. They don't completely care about the economy.
I think, Kagina,
yes,
I would disagree with Generali, When we went to the demonstrations as Gen Zs, we are conscious enough that we were not going to jeopardize the economic gains that we've had as a country. Or rather, we were going to agitate for protection of already existing entities that are for the benefit of the people. We cannot afford to ban this country because President William Ruto is the problem. We deal with president at a personal level, between the boss, as a boss, and as an employee. The president is the employee of the people. We are the bosses. Finally, just a minute generally. So going forward, we cannot say that we're going to destroy everything. No, we solve the problem. We deal with political problems in a political way. And also to add on what Kinuthia was saying, we cannot afford as a country to speak of peace. I have a cancer patient. I can tell you the mess in public sector. I have worked in a regional hospital. Access to medical services by senior citizens is a big problem. No one is going to stay young forever. Today I'm 26, tomorrow I will be 57 or 70. I want to walk into an hospital and find services that are available to the people. We cannot speak of peace when cancer patients are dying, because even as we speak today, NHIF patients are on their own. The cancer, the government is telling them through NHIF, go and look for comprehensive institutions that provide the services. So, as a people, just as I've said, we will only have peace for something that works for all of us. We are not only going to complain. We have solutions. Don't look at us as a bunch of empty debes. No, Mr. President, we are not anarchists. We are people bubbling with information, lacking space to share it. The people in power absolutely have no capacity to deliver us out of some of the challenges. So we are only calling for incorporation. We want to be part of the system. We do not want to be in a situation that has been in the case of the country Kenya, where young people are only brought on board when it comes to policy implementation. Formulation is where we lack it. I cannot, in my personal opinion, as Sankara, be coerced into implementing things that I do not understand. I want to be part of the process so that I seal the loopholes when I have the opportunity. When we went to the streets, we were calling about extrajudicial killings. As we speak today, there are participants of demonstration, purported national youth figures who cannot walk in the streets freely because they are being still hunted by government operatives. We do not want a country where people's freedom of expression, that is a constitutional guarantee, is being usurped by few cartels in the security sector. So we want a country that lives, it says. We do not want a country where systems have failed. We've turned government operations into a political event where the president roams around. When he gets to Kisumu, he speaks to the people of Kisumu in the language they want to understand. When he gets to Nairobi, he speaks to Nairobians in the language they want to understand. I think the president must now retreat, have a seat, because the Gen Z spared him. He should take this time to redeem himself. Let the people work and do what they are supposed to do. This is not to say that the people who are nominated to the cabinet are going to solve anything new. We've heard from people in power that the government was being micromanaged by one person. We want to, that doctrine of separation of power. The Constitution is not a creative convenience. I do say the Constitution was constitutionally constituted to constitute a constituent of constitutionalism. The rule of law must be respected. So going forward, the president must differentiate between politicking time and time to work. Presidents do not work on TV and they do not work on campaigns. The late President Mwai Kibaki did economic wonders in this country. I cannot recall where I saw President Mwai Kibaki making speeches here and there. In fact, I recall there was a time he told an MP, "You are asking for roads here and there." When we were allocating budget in parliament, did you approve it? So we must be practical, pragmatic, and sagacious enough to think and see what we are talking about to the people. Let us not take the people of Kenya as monkeys who are in the forest looking for bananas.
All right,
we
Sankara,
are okay.
Even as we ponder on
when I think also the media is so obsessed with the question of leaders, and I think this one is reducing the whole conversation, so that we don't talk about the real issues that we were advocating for in the street. When we went to the street and you know, we were asking for accountability. We did not tell them that now these are our leaders. Now we want these people in power. In fact, for some of us, we don't even care about the age of these people. We just want to see these services work, at least for us. And there's a reason. We were saying we're even partyless. The Gen Z were saying they're partyless. Why? That does not come from without. They have seen what parties have been doing, and especially the parties on the right wing in the country, right? Raila has always had the monopoly of mobilization in the country. What does he do? He mobilizes poor people. They go to the street. They are killed. He goes and shakes, and then there's no justice for the poor people. Till now, there's no justice for Bibi Pendo and all these people who died. When they say they are tribeless, tribe has been used as a mobilization tool by the political class. So we are saying we are tribeless because this has been used as a tool to divide us. So when we went to the street, we did not ask for our government, a broad-based government. And when you called Raila, who did Raila mobilize to the street? Raila did not mobilize. In fact, some of us don't have the tribal baggages of our parents.
There's the argument that whatever Gen Zs were calling for is what Raila has been calling for over time.
Okay, so now Raila, the Gen Z presented Raila with an opportunity to either side with the people or side with the people who have been oppressing them. And he made a clear choice. He went and sided with the people who have been killing young people for just raising a placard and saying enough is enough. Now they have come together and they are dancing on the graves of the poor people.
Yes, generally.
First of all, let me answer my brother here. When I was talking about clearing everything, I did not mean we are going to do bad things to the business. What I'm trying to ask is, let me ask you a question. Like, for example, do you trust President William Ruto with your money, with that revenue is collecting? All that money is going nowhere because of corruption.
Generally, your responsibility should end with your utterance, not what one understands. So I chose to speak to your words exactly the way you put it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let me finish. Just a minute. Just give me a minute.
Yes.
There's something I had the senior Pogisho mention in the other room, Studio A, and he said that at least now we had people with different ideologies coming together to advance, the country. And I was very surprised because I did not expect that from him. We need to also interrogate what are ideologies, because Raila and Ruto have the same ideologies. These are ideas and beliefs which now form the political and the social beliefs we have. They have the same beliefs. It's like now you tell me that the Republicans and the Democrats, are opposed ideologically. Why did we see both of them running to Washington just before the elections? What were they going to do? So which different ideologies do they have? They are still the same people, birds of a feather, and that's why they are flocking together now to oppose the people who are now asking for change and alternative leadership in the country.
Hold that thought. Maybe to generally, we can pick up that conversation even with that thought coming along. When we say that Gen Zs are leaderless, and then Sankara, you mentioned something about, we already have every constituency allocated a leader by the constitution. But then again, we have the government inviting the opposition to the table to have a discussion on how they can have that broad-based government, the term we are currently using, to bring forward solutions. Generally, you witnessed the vetting of the cabinet secretaries as it went on, including those that are being brought on board for the first time from the side of the opposition, and you overheard their qualifications. Based on the needs, or rather the demands that you had initially, do you think now those who were in the opposition with their qualifications can actually get to deliver on those demands, matters, accountability, transparency, and even the fight against corruption?
Okay, let me start by saying this. Let me start by calling this Oparanya. Oparanya was the governor of Kakamega for 10 years. And he has worked in the government for over 25 years. What is that Oparanya today want to do for Kenya as a whole, but he could not even do that in Kakamega County? How? John Mbadi, he has been there. What is that thing he's going to do that he could not do to the people of his constituency while he was an MP for those all years? there are some things, it is not, let's not talk about government and opposition. That is where we get lost. That mentality must come to an end. You see, there is this thing that these older people had. Like in the morning, I saw an interview here whereby there was this guy talking to Kasamuel, telling him that you are a kid. Okay, they had their time. They are older, yes, they had their time. They could have done those things at their time. This is now our time. We are fighting for our future. We are fighting for good governance. Where is it? How does age and fighting against corruption, fighting for transparency, how does age enter there? So they should not be like teachers who thinks they know your future. Like when you say something, you do something wrong, they have already started, they're like prophets, they're telling you that you will not prosper in what, you will not provide, and riding a bike for all those years till they die. It's not that I'm talking ill about teachers, but let's just be clear. There is no way these people who have been brought in place from opposition are going to take this country anywhere, because they have just done swaps and bringing some new CSs. Have they told us that since you have brought John Badi, we have brought Oparanya, we have brought Joe, this is what Joe is going to do to make sure that this mining sector will be okay? We can't still trust them. We cannot, because all those people are politicians. You see, Raila, allow me to talk about Raila. Raila is somebody who sees opportunity in every place, and this is clear. We started with that time of with Moi, let's say for example, Kibaki, Uhuru, and Ruto now. What is that he could not have done while he was together with these people that he wants to do now? We should be asking ourselves that.
For a minute, we started with the question of leaderless, yeah, and the movement being the Gen Z movement being leaderless. And again, it is important to insist. Why will the Gen Z again say that they are leaderless? Gen Zs have studied, you know, they've interacted with history, and they've seen what some leaders have done. Raila is one good example. He advances a cause that the people really believe in, and then what does he do? He goes to negotiate with the same people. So then from that trauma, then we say, okay, we don't have leaders. But again, if at all it's a question of leadership, leaders will still emerge from the streets. Leaders will emerge from the street. So on the question of education, the problem is not even education. David D is very well educated, but he uses his education to advance the interests of the IMF in the country. And what are the interests of the IMF? They've caused a lot of trauma for our people. So education is not even the issue. Today, Badi, who is very well educated, now becomes the Treasury Secretary. So how does that, and now the president has talked about inclusivity, so that now we have someone from the coast, Joho, we have Badi there, but how does that relate with that poor woman, that poor Luo woman, who is still sleeping hungry, who is still depressed that they cannot take their kids to school? So even in his approach, in an interview of the CS, we only saw an interview of these billionaires, and in fact we were being scared by the amount of money they were mentioning on those screens.
All right,
those ones are able to give us
Kagina,
good healthcare,
Kagina,
give us good education.
Yes, Sankara.
Kagina, you see, the president got it wrong when he went around the country telling the commoners how he was going to form a broad-based government. Actually, the broad-based government I expected was a government of Mama Mboga, mtu ya boda boda, mtu ya mama huji, a jobless young man. These are the broad-based people we expected in government. Today, even if you give Mbadi the CS treasury, I want to ask you, will I walk to treasury tomorrow as a Luo and pick money from Mbadi? But again, that action seeks to satisfy some pending historical bills, and that takes us back to the integrity, character of leadership. We, as the people of Kenya, we must separate politics and service delivery. I have said, and I will repeat, the actions of the president amounted to using a political strategy to solve an economic challenge. On the issue of having us Gen Zs being leaderless or being led, I think that is an issue. The most important thing we should be focusing to as a nation is, are they speaking something despite being leaderless? Is it the point of having a leader or communicating something that is sensible? Today as we speak, Parliament is an echo chamber with the executive working together with the opposition. And the question of Raila should actually dig into us, the agitation to have the constitution amended so that we have the office of the opposition distinctive with roles and funds from the exchequer, so that we do not have people purporting and masquerading as opponents, political opponents, co-opting from one party to the other, joining hands to work with each other after despairing the people of Kenya. We should have that incorporated. I heard my friend Gadoni Wamushomba speak of inclusion of women, Parliament being unconstitutional. I would also pose a question to push for referendum. How would you convince me that the country is composed of 75% of the population being young people, and then we reduce representation of young people to Parliament and Senate with a mere nomination of 2 or 3 young people, while we have women being considered, women, youths, and persons living with disability are being considered as vulnerable citizens? How do we then compare representation of women being 47 counties, each having a woman representative? We also want to see young people having youth representative from every county, from every constituency going to Parliament. We cannot speak of a bloated executive when it comes to representation of young people and consider it a normal government operation and circle when other people are being represented. So we have a lot of governance issues to deal with. The question of us being leaderless should be, am I making sense despite being leaderless? And we know the character of political divides in this country pushed us not to have leaders, because leaders, political leaders we have are people without ideologies and stance. Today they're supporting you, tomorrow. Let me take a good example of my friend or previous friend Musalia Mudavadi, the one holding the unconstitutional office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Musalia just asked the rationale of bottom up by using a bottle of water as an illustration. He took it upside down and asked, well, I mean, what is bottom up? The same person is there telling us the better economic plan. I mean, how? So we really need to be genuine with ourselves. Integrity of leaders is what we are lacking. We are not lacking leadership as a country. We are...
Just a short disagreement.
All right, you can interject.
Just a short interjection with my brother here, Sankara. You know, I think as the youth, every time we talk about the question of inclusion, we must be very careful when we handle that question, because we have to realize that the youth is not a monolithic whole. Within the youth, we have the youth who face the brutality of the state every day, and also we have the youths who are children. You know, we have Kalonzo's son, we have Raila's son, we have, in fact, when these people talk about, you know, leaders of tomorrow, they are preparing their children to take over. So even if there's a question of even inclusion of women, we don't mean the wives of these politicians again now coming to represent women. In fact, they have no relation with what the poor woman in the ghetto is going through. So on the question of the youth, I think it is a question that we, as the young generation at least, must be very cautious about, must do a proper analysis about. Otherwise, we are going to get the children of the same people we are trying to chase.
My point was,
while still on representation, in President William Ruto's new cabinet, we have 32-year-old Eric Mugaa, who's been given CS water. Are you confident now that the youth have been represented? Not exactly the Gen Zs, but the youth.
We have 22 cabinet ministers. Then we have one of them being a youth. Then this country is led by, composed of over 75% of young people being the larger segment of the population. I will come back to that. Let me respond to my brother, or let me explain to him, bring him with speed. I did not mean the wife of, let's say, Rachel Ruto going for the whatever, Dorcas Gachagua, or the other one, Tessie Musalia. I said women. When I talked about women, I did not even explain to you how the youths were going to be incorporated. My thought was, we have elective positions of young people in the counties. Elective, the ones we go contest. Because we know When we speak of appointment of young people to legislative houses, I will see Kalonzo's son Kennedy being taken to Yala. I will see Winnie Odinga, Raila's daughter, being taken to Yala. I will see Moses Mudavadi being given an existing position in ANC. So we want elective positions for youth representation in counties. That one, it is the people versus the ballot. No one should interfere.
But before you
clarify something you've asked before I forget.
Yes,
you know, you've
please.
asked. You know, we've seen a young person being appointed to Ruto's cabinet. Remember, from the first time he went to the street, Rex was not shot because he was fighting for any youth to be in government, and that has to be very clear, because they want to water down the conversation so that they reduce us to that level. Listen, whatever the president is doing is like, now you take your cancer patient and now you prescribe malaria tabs to these patients, because that is not a conversation we even want to have. We just want, you see, in fact, some of us are not even, we've repeated again, we are not even concerned about positions. We would just want to enjoy, at least
This is Mike 1.
I can write some poetry.
This is Mike 1.
I go to the hospital
without knowing who is the
so I don't care
secretary.
whether the cabinet secretary of health is a youth, as long as he still has the same ideas and the system is still operating the same way.
Exactly.
A young person or a woman, they are not going to change
Do you concur,
operationalization
General?
of operationalize things.
Generally, do you concur?
Okay, I concur with that, but he has just brought that issue of Rex Masai. I'm just asking myself, since when in this country were the police given that they were allowed to shoot and kill at an innocent person and left to walk free without fear of consequences? That's happening in Kenya, you see. Like, these people, tuache kwa wajinga, stupidity inafaa kutoka kwa akili. Police should be choosing humanity over money. It is you we are fighting for. This war, it's for all of us. You two are suffering. It's not only Philip. It's not my brother. It's not you. Everybody is suffering in this country. And it's not that when we go to the street, then everybody is unemployed. Some of us have our own businesses. But no matter how hard we try to make that profit, those people are coming, getting taxes, making the economy much more harder by not bringing even solutions. So how can you tell us to trust these people? Let me tell President Ruto something. President Ruto, I want to advise you. Why don't you just take this time and resign and be the first president to resign from office, because people did not trust you simply because you cannot do your work. You are corrupt. You are the first person who is corrupt, and you are telling us you want to deal with corruption. That is nonsense. We will remember you as the first president to resign because people don't trust you.
All right. Even before I go, I go to the second round of reading what the viewers have to say regarding our topic today. Sankara, you can conclude before we get to hear what our viewers have to say.
I would tell my colleagues as young people, we know the politics in Kenya is structured alongside elections and active participation of citizens. In 2022, when I was going for elections for the second time as a voter, there were conversations of voter apathy among the young people. A lot of things came up as to why young people tend to shy off elective positions, and also systematic things that have been put in place to act as impediments of towards young people getting into leadership. But I would tell young people, most of us do not actually participate in elections. In Zambia, we just saw a united youth front armed with the right tool, the voting card, could ensure that credibility of elections would be upheld. The same thing can happen in Kenya. We only need to have those ID cards, and that's why I get pained when I hear that the government is willingly frustrating reapplications of lost ID cards and issuing of new ID cards. This is a political assassination of young people's involvement in governance. Let us have these ID cards. Let us register as voters. Let us go to the ballot papers, ballot boxes, and decide that today I am going to elect person A because I believe in them. I am not going only to cast my votes. I'm going to cast, protect, and ensure that the vote actually translates to the people's voice. That can only happen when first things first. Get your ID. Get your voting card. Let us go to the elections, so that even when we come out to protest, we say, I went to the ballot, I voted person A, but this is not what we expected. So we are also, as young people, in as much as we are seeing the other side, we must also vet ourselves and take credit and criticism where necessary. Especially on election dates, you will find women queuing, and most of them are being bought by very simple things. Unga, like in my constituency, the MP does nothing. Mr. Shakil Shabir only roams around funerals, distributing funeral unga and sugar. Then he goes to the ballot and asks the people to vote him. So we can only put an end to this when we actively participate and advise our mothers and fathers that, excuse me, dad or mom, this is not the right way to go. We need to elect this person based on this ground and not that ground.
Skinner, probably to engage you, even as I conclude, in regards to that point of elections, if we are the majority as youth, why are we having the wrong people emerging as winners from elections?
Of course, as the young people, we've been victims of the ideas of these politicians, because the ideas are still the dominating ones, yeah? And historically, we've seen how they have been organizing us along tribal lines, along all these backward lines that they've been using. But you realize also the young people have been learning from the mistake they've been making, and that is why in the country right now we are talking about a new consciousness, a new human that has emerged in this new generation, the Gen Z. And therefore it means even as we advance to the next election, the youth of the next election is not that other youth of 2022 who still had the tribal baggage and the tribal mobilization that was happening in the country.
All right, thank you very much. And remember, our viewers, we had asked you to participate in this conversation, and we had asked the question of, do you have confidence in Ruto's new cabinet to deliver? And just to sample some of the feedback from you, we have on X, we have Jesse Abhishek, who says, no confidence, live from Eldoret. Ruto and Raila will never deliver, but excuses will rise until 2027. We have Teddy Getao, who says, I don't have confidence in Ruto himself. We have Joseph Nduti, who says, no way, it's too full of corrupt people. Dominic Kluter says, in fact, I don't expect anything from them, so I won't blame them if they don't deliver. We have Mwangi Elisha that says, that's called putting paper over cracks. The whole government is broken and sinking fast. We have Benito Thuo, who says, no, the cabinet, except for 5 of them, have been in our national politics. Truth be told, with all the trillions in shillings that have passed through them in their previous positions, there is nothing of worth or even sustainable. We have Sumutamu, who says, no, never. We've seen it. Their focus ain't national debt and creation of growth opportunities for Kenyans, but rather amass wealth for themselves and their future kins. We have Sammy Craig, who says, not all, most of them have participated in corruption in the past, so they are bringing experience stealing in this regime. Mimi sina matumaini na hii serikali kabisa. And then we have Jawera Makoha, who says, it's not about having confidence in this government. Already he violated, mutilated, shredded the public trust with a million lies. Of course, there is nothing better he would do for Kenyans. That is Jawera Makoha on X. And now turning to Facebook, where we had asked you to contribute to the same question. We have Meshak Wanjala, who says, no, not at all. His mind is set at aiming at dismantling the vocal opposition leaders. Remember either Oparanya or Joho were to take over from Odinga. Then we have Bode Dante, who says those are masters of corruption, grouping themselves. We also have Paul Ndisho, who says, when the rich join hands, the poor should be worried. Then we have Wesonga Simon, who says, they're there to dig a national grave to bury Kenyans killed by the gone cabinet. Then we have Caston Mukwana, who says, no, it's all a cover-up of the messes within government. When are we to see looters heading into correctional institutions? And then lastly, we have a user by the name Onion, who says, which confidence? And they want to start tolling major roads. Indeed, the feedback is amazing. I cannot exhaust all of it, but thank you so much for contributing to this conversation. And even as we get to wrap it up, I'd love to hear what you have to say in your closing remarks, picking up from generally, even as we wrap up, what would be your closing remarks after today's discussion?
Okay, thank you. I want to say this way. Right now, it's a different time. We went to the streets fighting against corruption, fighting for transparency, fighting for development for this country. And it doesn't matter who is in that seat. If it is your father who is wrong, then you must feel free to correct him. If it is your brother, it is time whereby now we have to change our mentality. We want development for all of us. We want a government whereby it is not the politicians when they get sick or their kids, they are being taken to Dubai, being taken to India for treatment, while other people, other citizens who employed them through votes are scattering here and there looking for where to go to the hospital, where you cannot even get medical attention, you can't get medicines. We want a government whereby you can go to schools free without that how do we call it? Let me use this example, sorry. Why don't we come up like those bursaries that the MCAs provides, MP, the governor, and even the president? Why don't they join those together and come up with a free education system whereby there is no need going to kneel down to a politician or sleeping at his or her gate till dawn to ask for bursaries? Because during campaigns, those gates are open, their doors are open, so you can call them direct, you can call a politician direct during campaigns. But immediately after they get into that seat, there is no single day you can call him and get him. There is no day you will go to his gate or to his office asking for help. The first thing you will be asked, did you book for appointment? Do they book for appointment when coming to ask for our votes?
All right, thank you very much. Generally, moving to Kinuthia Ndung'u.
You know, it is sad every time we mention those who have died from the brutality of the state. But we ask, today the president made a pronouncement, as he always does, on the university funding and the fee structure, the new fee structure. But we ask, did we have to lose all these young people for you to make that pronouncement? We ask, did all these people die and the solution you come up with is to bring your your friends from the other side who masquerade to be opposed to your ideas, so that again you can demobilize the young people? We ask, did all this happen so that again you bring Duale, who is responsible for killing democracy in the universities, through the amendment, the Universities Amendment Act? Today, as we talk, even as he made those pronouncements on TV, we saw the lecturers, promising to go on demonstrations. Those are still our parents. Therefore, it means as long as all these things, as long as our people are still facing the indignity that brought us to the streets, it is a time bomb. And things are going to be so bad. As I conclude, at least we keep saying that we don't want to die, we want to live. But as we had said, we are already dying, at home. But we hope in our lifetime we can see some change in this country. But importantly, we hope that also in our lifetime we shall see the day when bullets are not used to kill young people who are asking for, a future, when those who stole their future, those who stole money meant for the youth, those who stole money meant for health care, continue to enjoy lives. At least in our lifetime, we want to see those people who stole this being shot the way they kill us in our communities.
All right, thank you very much, Sankara, even as we wrap up.
Thank you, Kagina. I think to address the police brutality, we need very much to operationalize systems where everyone is going to take responsibility of their actions, regardless of the cadres of leadership they hold. We need to disband the Kiganjo curriculum so that we ensure that it is competency-based curriculum. Before they would have extended the competency-based curriculum to the kids, I think they should have started with the police, because the police play a very integral role in the society. When thieves are being investigated, it is the people from Kiganjo who investigate them. When thieves or theft is being apprehended, it is them. When crime is being prevented, it is them. So we really need a competency-based police service, a real police service, and not an anarchist organization masquerading in uniform and guns as police servicemen. I think going forward as a country, it is high time that we reflect on the values of the Constitution reflected under Article 10 of our Constitution. We really need to operationalize Chapter 6 of the Constitution, leadership and integrity. If that is something we were to go by, I would assure you that 90% of the MPs and people in power today would actually be absolute criminals. But because we have selected the Constitution to implement it when the poor is on the receiving end, we shall always continue languishing in abject poverty, while in real sense we are a rich country. How do you convince me that in 2024 a PhD holder in the office of the president is still taking tea with mandazi, launching posho mills, while his peers elsewhere are actually assembling vehicles from zero? In 1959, Tom Mboya, a mere trade unionist, airlifted students from Kenya to America to study, to further their education and come back and better our country. In 2024, a PhD holder is still dishing out wheelbarrow and other form of mean economic empowerments to showcase to the world that is actually doing something. I want to tell you, as a people of Kenya, as long as we do not change our thoughts and opinions during elections, we shall continuously cry because our person will not pay your bills. We only need someone to better the offices they are serving so that the services will come to your home or at the convenience of your location. Because when you go to an hospital, you get help. When you go to the police station, you are treated with decorum. When you take your kids to school, just to forget, it is this administration that did away with capitation of secondary school fees. I mean, we are paying much. I am a high school fee payer. I feel the pain.
All right,
we
Sankara,
need to act. The country is in bad shape.
I will have to cut you short because of time constraints, but that right there wraps up our conversation this evening. Remember, this is a joint production between K24 TV and Kameme TV that comes to you once a month. We are thankful and grateful to the very large team that has been working behind the scenes to ensure this becomes a success. Thank you to you for tuning in, as well as our guest for gracing this show. Thank you, Philip Ojwang, also known as Generali. Thank you, Kenothi Ndongo. Thank you, Kennedy Sankara, for making time with us. Thank you also. Ensure whatever you choose to spend your evening today with, do it with passion and enjoy your evening. My name is David Kagina.
Welcome to the world of casino games on 1xBet. And let the luck be on your side. Slot games on 1xBet, where fortune awaits.